And today in Spanish Colombiano, I will teach you how to learn Colombian Spanish vocabulary faster, just using one simple rule. This lesson is focused on beginners and will be taught in English. Remember, if you would like a free Spanish lesson with me, head to the link in the description and sign up. Get ready because we are starting de una. Welcome to Spanish Colombiano. I'm Jorge. I'm not a teacher nor a tutor, just your Colombian friend. And my objective here is to teach you the Spanish we speak in Colombia. Whether you are just a beginner or have an intermediate level of Spanish, here you will find the best content to learn Colombian Spanish. Remember, you can find the transcript of this episode and more useful resources in the description. Ahora, sírvete un cafecito con leche, acompáñalo con buñuelo, relájate y disfruta Spanish Colombiano. In this lesson, I'm gonna teach you how you can convert words ending in Y in words in Spanish. The rule is simple. Words ending in Y in English mean the same in Spanish if you change Y or IA. These words become words feminine in Spanish, and sometimes the spelling is different. Let's see some examples so you can understand what I'm saying. This word academy ends in Y. If you change Y for IA, academy becomes academia in Spanish. And this word, academia, is a feminine word in Spanish. Let's see another example. This word, agency. This word ends in Y. If we change Y for IA, agency becomes agencia. Here is something that is important to say. G, when it's following by E or by I in Spanish, is pronounced like H. So we don't say agencia, we say agencia in Spanish. It's important that you know this pronunciation. Let's see another example with this word, agony. Agony ends in Y, but if we change Y for agony becomes agonía. Here is important that when G is followed by O, U, or A, you pronounce the same as in English. Agony, agonía. Let's see another example. The word archaeology. Archaeology ends in Y, but if we change Y for IA, archaeology becomes arqueología. Again, here is important that you realize that the spelling in Spanish is different because CH in Spanish changed for QU. So we pronounce arqueología. And the same thing with G. As I told you before, when G is followed by I or E, it sounds like H. So archaeology becomes arqueología. Let's see the next example with the word astronomy. Astronomy ends in Y. If we change Y for IA, astronomy becomes astronomía. Very good. Let's see this other example with the word asymmetry. Asymmetry, changing Y for IA becomes asimetría. Here the spelling changed a little bit. So asymmetry, it has double M and Y at the beginning, but in Spanish it has I and just one M. The point is you can guess the meaning of the word and you can use it speaking just with this simple rule. Let's keep seeing some more examples. The word audacity. Audacity ends in Y, and if you change Y for IA, audacity becomes audacia. Here it's important to say that audacity sounds like O at the beginning, but in Spanish We don't say oh, we say au, audacia, audacia. Let's see another example. The word autonomy, autonomy. This word ends in Y, and if we change Y for IA, autonomy becomes autonomía. The same thing at the beginning. We don't say autonomía, we say autonomía, autonomía. It's important that you know this small difference in the pronunciation. Let's see another example with the word battery. Battery ends in Y, and if we change Y for IA, battery becomes batería, batería. Pretty good, batería. Here the spelling changed a little bit too. Instead of having 2 T in battery, we have just 1 T in batería. Let's see more example. The word biography. Biography ends in Y, and if you change Y for IA, biography becomes biografía, biografía. Remember that when we change Y for IA, the word in Spanish becomes a feminine word. You know that in Spanish we have genders for each word. So in this case, when the word in Spanish ends in IA, the words become feminine. Here it's important to say that at the beginning, in English you say bio, whereas in Spanish we say biografía, bio, bio. A trick there in pronunciation. Let's see another example. The word biology. This word ends in Y. If we change Y for IA, biology becomes biología. Again, bio, the pronunciation changed for bio, bio, but the spelling is the same. Let's see another example with the word blasphemy, blasphemy. We change Y for IA, blasphemy becomes blasphemia. This is another good trick in pronunciation. When you see PH in English, it becomes F in Spanish. The pronunciation is the same, but spelling is different. So blasphemy is pronounced blasphemia, but the spelling is not with PH, is with F, blasphemia. Let's see another example with the word ceremony. This word ends in Y, and if we change Y for IA, it becomes ceremonia, ceremonia, ceremony, ceremonia. Another example with the word colony. Colony ends in Y, and if we change Y for IA, it becomes colonia, colonia. Let's see another example with the word company. Company ends in Y, so if we change Y for IA, company becomes compañía, compañía. Be careful with this. The spelling is a little bit different because we use the ñ, which is the N with this little line on top, the ñ, and the ñ is pronounced ñ. So company becomes compañía. Let's see another example with the word competency. Competency ends in Y. If we change Y for IA, competency becomes competencia, competencia. The same meaning, just different spelling at the end. Y changed by IA, it becomes competencia. Another example with the word copy. This is a word that we use so often. If we change Y for IA, copy becomes copia, copia. Pretty easy. Let's see another example with the word efficacy. Efficacy, we change Y for IA and it becomes eficacia, eficacia. The difference here is in the spelling of F. In English, we have 2F, whereas in Spanish, we just have 1F, but it's pronounced the same. Efficacy, eficacia. Just the change in the rule that we are learning today. Let's see another example with the word efficiency. It's pretty similar to the last one. Change Y at the end for IA, efficiency becomes eficiencia, eficiencia, and it's spelled just with 1F. Let's see another example with the word energy. So you change Y for IA, energy becomes energía. Remember the rule with the G? With the G is followed by I or E. G sounds like H in English. So you don't pronounce energía, you pronounce energía, energía. So energy, energía. Let's see another example with the word envy. Envy. We change y at the end for ia. Envy becomes envidia. Envidia. Here the word changed a little bit, but as I told you before, if you are in a conversation or if you are listening to a podcast or a lecture, it's easy to understand the meaning if you know the rule. Next example with the word fallacy. We change y for ia. Fallacy becomes falacia. Here it's important to say that double L becomes just one L in Spanish, but it's pronounced the same. Fallacy, falacia, falacia. Let's see the next example with the word family, a very common word. So family, we change y at the end for ia, becomes familia, familia. Next example with the word frequency. Try to do this one. Frequency. Change y for ia. It becomes frecuencia. Muy bien. Frecuencia. Next example with the word galaxy. We change y by ia becomes galaxia. Galaxy, galaxia. Next example with the word glory. These words end in y, and if we change y for ia, it becomes gloria. Very good, Gloria. Gloria, which is also a name in Spanish, Gloria. Next example with this word, the word harmony. Harmony ends in y, so it becomes armonía when we change y for ia. Here it's important to say that H in Spanish is mute. We don't pronounce H in Spanish. So whereas in English we say harmony, in Spanish we say armonía without pronouncing H. Let's see the next example with the word history. History, if we change y for ia, it becomes historia. The same thing with H. We don't pronounce H in Spanish. So instead of saying historia, we say historia. So history becomes historia in Spanish. Next example with the word memory. Memory ends in y, and if we change y, it becomes memoria when we change it with ia at the end. Memory, memoria. Next example with the word photography. This is an interesting one. Photography ends in y, so if we change y for ia, it becomes fotografía. Photography, fotografía. It's important to say that ph changes in Spanish for f. It's pronounced the same, but the spelling is different. So we say fotografía, but the spelling is not with ph, it's just with f. Next example with the word psychology. So it ends in y. If we change y for ia, it becomes psicología. Psicología. There is one change in the spelling. We don't put y in the beginning, we put I. And remember that the pronunciation with G, when it has I after G, is like H in English. So we say psicología. Psychology, psicología. Let's see the next example with the word technology. Technology ends in Y. If we change Y for IA, it becomes tecnología. Tecnología. You know this rule. It's too easy to apply, but it's important that you know the words. And if you listen to this class or you are watching the class, knowing the words that change is going to help you a lot with your vocabulary and your pronunciation. Let's see another example with the word toxicology. Toxicology ends in Y. If you change Y for IA, it becomes toxicología. So toxicology becomes toxicología. Toxicología. The spelling is the same, just change Y for IA. Next word, tragedy. Tragedy ends in Y. If we change Y for IA, it becomes tragedia. Again with G. In Spanish, when it's followed by E, G is pronounced like H in English. So we don't say tragedia, we say tragedia. Tragedia. Next example with the word urgency. If we change Y for IA, it becomes urgencia. Urgencia. Remember the rule with G. When it's followed by E or I, it's pronounced like H in English. So urgency becomes urgencia. We don't say urgencia, we say urgencia. Urgencia. Next example with the word victory. If we change Y for IA, it becomes victoria. Victoria. Next example with the word zoology. Zoology ends in Y. If we change Y for IA, it becomes zoología. Zoología. The same rule here with G. We say zoología, not zoología, no. Zoología. With this simple rule, you can convert more than 30 words from English to Spanish. You just need to practice. Thank you for joining me this week. And before you go, make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you can receive new episodes right when they are released. And if you are enjoying the show, we really appreciate a 5-star review. Keep practicing and remember, persistir, insistir, nunca desistir. Nos vemos, chao.